Hello there. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about domestic violence. Amnesty International says that the rate of domestic violence in Nigeria is shocking. In recent times, we've heard so many stories of husbands killing their wives. So many stories about things we used to read in the foreign press has become part of us. Things totally alien to the Word of God. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. But today, the story is different. Men actually abuse their wives emotionally, physically, sexually. When a man who swore to love and protect, when you turn your wife into a punching bag. Very often, the victims are silent. Millions and millions of women, from statistics, are going through that. First, we'll be bringing you women who are willing to use this to tell us their stories, to help other women who are going through that situation heal. Today, I have a very dear friend of mine, Grace Esuk, who is here to tell us her story and how she survived. Grace, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you for honoring our invitation.
It's a pleasure here. Thank you.
How are your daughters?
They are great. They are wonderful. Sweetest things to have. I bet you.
How was married life? How long were you married for?
Married life was horrible. I was married for 15 years, thanks to the word I spoke. I got married in 1980, and just about 2 weeks after I got married, we were home having our breakfast, myself and my husband, and I don't know what happened. He just told me, Grace, this marriage might last for 5 years, but it's not going to go beyond 5 years. And then I now looked at him, and then he goes, and even if it goes beyond 5 years, it's not going to go beyond 10 years. And I was just sitting down there. Yes, I was raised up in a Christian home, but then I did not know the power of the tongue, to be very honest with you. So I now sat down there in my innocence, and I told him, you said it's not going to last 5, not 10 years. I'm going to combine the 5 and the 10, and I'll give you 15. And I tell you, exactly after 15 years, September 26, 1995, January 26, I could not hold it anymore. I walked out of it.
What do you think must have triggered him to say that?
I don't know. I don't know why he came saying that. I don't know what brought it up in the first instance.
So how were those 15 years?
They were horrible.
Horrible?
They were horrible. It was as if I was dreaming. When I look back today, I think maybe I was in a trance or something, or maybe I was blinded, or I don't know. But it was really horrible. Well, like I said, we started our married life on the 26th of September 1980. After then, he said these things, and life went on normally. There was no signs to anything that it was going to end like this. But along the line, I now noticed that I was being used as a punching bag, and I would have stepped out then. But one thing happened. Early in marriage, he had beaten me up to a pulp and then turned me over and broke my waistline. And then I stood up from where I was being beaten. I now noticed I couldn't even lift my finger. I couldn't even lift a teaspoon. I wept like a baby. I thought to myself, what have I become? Have I become like a vegetable? I now noticed I was passing urine. At that moment, I couldn't even walk. I was now crawling. And he didn't bother. He just walked away. When he noticed I was dripping with urine and all that, he now decided to put me in one of the rooms in the house and closed me up there. But the good thing was that he had a cousin who came to, I don't know what he came to do anyway, but he was living in one of the rooms that was outside the house. And this guy came in and noticed how I was, and I tell you, it was this guy that was now coming in to clean me up and helping me to feed me. I couldn't lift a teaspoon. It was that bad.
At this time, did you have children?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
No, not
So
yet.
he started beating you even before you started having children?
Yes, that's what I said. So when I now got to this stage, I told myself, what has become of me? What will I become? Am I going to be placed? I thought of so many things. But this good thing, this cousin of his will come and will sit down with me and we'll be talking. I wasn't talking back to him anyway because I was so hot. I'll just be crying, you know. And then he would clean me up, he would help me, he would feed me, he would go away.
Did your husband come into the room where you were?
He would just open the door and walk away or something, you know. And sometimes he will come in and look at me. And I would see he was feeling very sorry. And he's this type, before I got to that stage, he's this type that after beating me, he will take me out. He will, yeah, he would take me out. And he was this very caring type, and knowing where I came from, he would even wash my undies. He was that nice, you know. He would take me out, spoil me.
After beating you?
After beating me thoroughly. So I would wonder, I would like, God, what is happening to me? Am I okay? Am I the one, you know? So by the time I now got to this stage where I was now, I was now talking with God. It was just me and God. It was alone with God at this point. I was like, God, what will become of Grace? A vegetable for life? But as God will have it, I don't know what happened. It didn't take 2 weeks. It didn't take 2 weeks. One day I woke up and I could lift something up. And I woke up, I didn't wet myself. And I could walk. And I was like, my God, what has happened to me? So that would have been...
When you should have...
Thank you. I would have now gone away. But I now held on. I said, God, supposing at the end of the day, what has happened to me, I don't have children. What stories will I...
Stay here.
So let me stay here. Let me stay here and see if I would have children. You see, that's the mistake we make.
Hold the thoughts. Hold the thoughts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We tell stories, and we love to hear stories. Most especially stories of human beings surviving trouble. And we all need the encouragement, discovering that others have been afflicted as we, and they have found a way to the other side. In stories are pain and struggles and failure. Well, whatever, I accept it. You are still the God of my life.
And I didn't know I'm a sickler until I was age of 13.
I suffered. And also of laughter. And wisdom.
You learn that without God you are nothing.
And grace.
There was grace that brought me this far, and only grace can lead me on.
And you don't have to be good with words to tell them powerfully.
Oh, see, they were like this. Take. You know when you are coming, you want to enter somebody's
Yes.
house. Their legs were
On the window.
Mba! When they had OPC, the leg went back, bam. Father, I thank you.
Join us as we celebrate the story behind the glory, and that to the glory of God. You're welcome back. So you decided to stay.
So I decided to stay and to see if I would have children of my own. And I think that's where I made my mistakes. Because I think in the first instance, I would have walked out and gotten myself together. But you see, every day of battering, and it's not that they only beat you with their hands, they beat you with their mouth, they talk you down, they make you feel as if you are a non-entity. At a point, he had so spoken to me that I started believing him than believing in myself. I now started becoming very timid. I didn't know, I was hiding from a whole lot of something I don't even understand. Because if you ask me now, I don't know what I was hiding from. I couldn't even face my parents to tell them what I was going through. I didn't have many friends, so I couldn't relate with anybody. I was just into myself and going through what I was going through just alone. And I got to the point, I got married in 80, and then by 81, 82, we traveled to their village, and somebody, said it to my very hearing, that I hope we did not pay to marry a man into this house, meaning I wasn't yet pregnant.
Yes.
So, okay, that was 81. So I just told myself, my God, I just got married in 80. Do they expect me to be bloated up automatically like that? And I just let it pass anyway. But as God will have it, by 82, I had my first daughter.
And you had forgotten about the beating.
Continued, but what will I do? I just was hiding, I was hiding under a cloak of, like I keep telling you, I didn't know what I was hiding from. But I was running away from being called a failure. I was running away from somebody, you know how it was then. It's not now that you can just stand up and leave. Then, the 80s, you would be stigmatized for just getting into marriage and walking out of it. They'll call you names, and I was hiding, I was running away from all those names, and I didn't want my parents to be dragged into the mud because of my marriage. So I really wanted to hold on to my marriage and make sure it worked.
Are you there today?
You can ask me again. I really wanted to make it work. This, I will try. I will put in my best. I must give it my best. It must work. That was how it was. And every day was getting worse. Every day was getting worse. And I was just sitting there, and I don't know how it happened, but I had the first daughter, and I had the second daughter. And I had the second daughter, then I now went in, I had the third girl. By the time I had the second daughter, I was like, you are coming in here to sit down, make girls, eh? The brother will call, my brother, it's like you people will soon open a convent too. And it will hurt me. So by the time I now got pregnant for my third daughter, he beats me even with my pregnancy. I was now pregnant for my third daughter, and I was so beaten. I was so beaten. I was beaten to a pulp. By the time they now took me to the hospital, and I could not hold it any longer. Number one, I became devastated because every day he keeps telling me, I hope that thing inside of you is not a baby girl. If it's a baby girl, make sure you will just pack yourself and go back to your father's house. My God, I don't know. I don't want to disgrace my parents. So by the time I got to having this third pregnancy, and we had a disagreement, and he beat me up, and they took me to the hospital. By this time, my pregnancy was about 6 months and 3 weeks and 4 days exact. So when I got to the hospital, I told the doctor, I was very weak. So, and then the doctor checked and found out this date, 6 weeks, 6 months, 3 weeks and 4 days, and told me, Madam, we can bring out this baby for you. I said, please. So I went in and they brought out my last daughter.
So they brought out your last daughter at 6 months.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And 4 days old. And
Born premature, and they put her in the
premature
incubator.
and put her in the incubator. And then she turned out to be a baby girl. And they took me all the way to UBTH. Then we were staying in Ajakuta Steel Company. So they took me to UBTH to do this for me. So, and by the time they brought out the baby, and he now came round and discovered it was a baby girl. And then discovered it was even a premature. He went in and told the doctors, why don't you kill this thing? That was when the doctors held him and gave him a beating. I didn't know. I was in my own room while the baby was up there. He didn't even come to see me first. He went to see the baby and to find out the sex of the baby. So and then when he found out and opened his mouth to make that pronouncement, the doctors first gave him a beating before I now saw people running into my room, and then the doctor goes, excuse me, could this thing be your husband? And I was so ashamed. And I said yes. So that was it. Now, because the child was a baby girl, he now said he was not going to pay that. He now pretended as if he couldn't afford paying for us being in the incubator. He now told the hospital authorities to discharge us from the hospital. So, and they begged and asked him, okay, we could discharge your wife, but we'll keep the babies. He said, we'll keep the baby. He said no, that he wants the wife and the baby. They talked and talked and talked. At the point, they said they couldn't hold us back, and they now released us.
With the baby from the incubator?
Premature baby. So he now came to take us back home from Benin to Ajakuta Steel Company. Along the way, he now goes, because the baby was quite small, 6 months, her spinal cord has not really gone in completely. So she had a little thing, like a small tail, okay? So he'll now turn around and look at me and goes, Haba, you have given birth indeed. You have given birth to a lizard. And I felt so devastated. And we were going home. Here was I with my wrapped baby, premature. I had to wrap her very well. Wrapped her properly. He taunted me and made a joke out of me. So by the time we got to one portion, before we got to Ajakuta Steel Company, there was this stretch of road. And I don't know, somehow I looked behind. That stretch of road is very long. You could see for a very long distance. So I now looked, and there were no cars behind us. And he also saw there were no cars behind us. So I saw him clearing off to the sidewalk. And then by the time he now cleared up, he turned around and came to me. I said, Madam, why don't you do yourself a favor? Throw this thing away so that we'll just drive home, and then we'll tell people at home that the baby just died.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. He told you, why don't you just throw this?
Throw the baby away so we could go home. And he was still standing there. I think he was going to collect the baby from me or do something drastic. But thanks be to God, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, there was a car behind us. And there was this tall guy that came out. He was in all white French suit. This one with the short sleeve. Came out of the car and was like, oh, you seem to have a problem here. And then there he goes, kicking his tires. Yeah, I think I have a deflated tire. So the guy went round the car and checked his tires as well, and then went round and turned round to me and go, oh, madam, you have a beautiful baby there. And I said, yes. He said, oh, how pretty this girl is. I said, thank you. And the guy stood by. I said, okay, I don't think your tires are going down. Okay, what we'll do is just get in the car. I will drive right behind you. So and that was what happened. And we were driving, I would look up the guy was still following us, and I go, thank you, Jesus. Then I was not born again. I go to church. And I will look up, the guy was still following us. That was how we drove until we got to the point where we were branching into our house. And he could not do anything about it. Then the guy go, pam, 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 and waved. So, and I waved back at him. And we got home. And being premature, I had problems every day. I was running from hospitals to hospital every day. People would come to me because she had now a depression. She had a depression on her head. And then some people will come and ask me to take her to a herbalist. I said, I've never been to a herbalist. And I will not go to a herbalist. Anyway, I missed out something. By the time I had her, and I went in to see her in the incubator, I sat all day with her. And that day was beautiful. It was a beautiful night. And there was this moon all over. And I sat down, I looked at my baby. Premature baby, she smiled at me. I just saw something like that. I was like, oh my God, she smiled. And then I looked into her eyes. I said, my God, what will I name you? You're so pretty. I now decided to call her Uduahabon, God's will. I said, you will live. I was not born again. I didn't know the power of the word. Remember the first one I said? 15 years. Then this time around I was saying, you will live. Your name is Uduahabo. You are God's will. You will live to be what God wants you to be for me. You will not die. So that by the time they were sending me away from the hospital, I was in all tears. The doctors saw it, but I was telling them not to worry, that this one will not die. They told me that even with medications, some of them don't even survive the first 4 years of their birthdays.
And today she's how old?
She will be 25 on the 20th of January. So, and I told them that this one will make a difference. We walked out of the hospital. We never went back there for one medication. The only thing is that I kept taking her to hospitals very close by. It was, thank God we had a German hospital very close by us then in Ajakuta then. They were taking care of her for me and she survived it. She survived it. But even then, when I had her and I came back home with all that which we were going through, there was this day he came out. And you know, because she was premature, I had to package her properly. And I kept her, I normally slept with her this way so that I would be sure that she was even alive. So I normally kept her like that. And then there was this lovely night. I was there with my baby sleeping on me. I just heard a pull. My husband had come in and checked me from the bed. And I was going to land on the floor. But I didn't think of me. I was now thinking of this one that was on top of, because he checked and she slipped from me. And as I was landing on the floor, I did not think of me. Remember, I went through a CS as well. I did not think of me. I was thinking of my package, my Lord. If this one gets to the floor, what will happen? But as God will have it, she now fell on the bed. And then that was when I saw God in action. I heard a laugh like, he heard that laugh too. And that was what made him, he ran away from the room. And I think some days later, he now came to me and met me and said, he doesn't understand why he wanted to drag me. That every time he comes into the room, there's this light around us. That he doesn't, anyway, I should leave the master's bedroom. That's how we now moved into the last room of the house and made it mommy's room. So, and it didn't stop there. I was staying there with my baby because I had her premature. I now brought in a maid who was a nurse in the hospital. I didn't know anything about bringing up a child like that. So I now brought in this nurse who would help me take care of her because she was always sleeping and I had to do something for myself. So I brought in 2 maids. The other one he sent away. Then he went and brought in a girl from their place. And I was wondering, why did you bring this girl? I don't even know her. I don't think I need her. I would get my own maid. Why did you drive my own away? So along the line, I didn't know what was happening. One of those nights, I had come back from my shop and I was tired, went into sleep, and I noticed I didn't have my water because I normally drink a lot of water at night. So I now went out to get water for myself because I was staying at the last room, okay? And I went out, I was walking up into the living room. I now noticed where was supposed to be the children's room. He now asked the maid to be sleeping there. So as I was walking past, I now noticed there was light. So I said to myself, I was just thinking to myself, oh, I've warned this girl to always put off this lights when she wants to go to bed. And I just opened the door to try and put off the light, and lo and behold, I just saw the sight I saw. I was like, wow, congratulations. So this is what you do behind me.
Your husband with the maid.
The maid.
Hold that thought. You know, we cannot take this in all one episode, but you'll join us for a continuation of the story.
Okay.
I'm sorry for making you relive this whole episode, but I believe that since it will help somebody out there, yes, you'll oblige me. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. This story continues next week. Thank you for your time, and my name is Uduak, Apasi, meaning God's will, perfect will of God. See you again next week.